The word hit me like a slap. Leech. My father stood in the doorway of the house I'd been paying for, his face twisted with contempt. Behind him, my brother Tyler smirked from the leather couch I'd bought last Christmas. "You've been living off us for years," Dad continued. "Sleeping in our house, eating our food. It's time you contributed or got out." I looked at the mortgage statement in my hand. $847,000 paid over 8 years. Every month, without fail, the money left my account and kept this roof over their heads. The electricity bill, the water, the property taxes, all of it flowing from my software consulting business while they thought I was just their broke IT guy sleeping in the basement. My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. She knew. She'd always known. But she'd never told them where the money really came from. "I contribute plenty," I said quietly. Dad laughed, a harsh sound that made my chest tight. "Oh really? What, you think fixing the Wi-Fi counts as rent?" "Tyler works 60-hour weeks at the firm. Your sister Melissa manages an entire department. What do you do?" "Fiddle with computers in the basement like a teenager." Tyler stood up, adjusting his tie. "Honestly, Kevin, it's embarrassing. I bring clients home and have to explain why my 32-year-old brother lives in the basement. It reflects poorly on the whole family. I'd built their dream home. Every upgrade, every renovation, every piece of furniture they bragged about to their friends. I'd funded Tyler's law school when his loans fell through. I'd paid for Melissa's wedding when her fiancé's family backed out. And they thought I was a burden. "Get out by Friday," Dad said. "We need the space. Tyler's firm is expanding and he needs a home office. Your freelance stuff, you can do that anywhere." The dismissal was final. No discussion, no negotiation. Just an eviction from the family I'd been supporting since I was 24. I walked downstairs to my basement room without arguing. Let them think they'd won. Let them enjoy their power for 3 more days. I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder I'd labeled Family Accounts. 8 years of bank statements, automatic payments, transaction records. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every expense itemized with dates and amounts. Then I opened my email and started typing. The first message went to my attorney, Brandon Wright. I'd used him for business contracts but never imagined I'd need him for this. Brandon called within an hour. "Kevin, are you absolutely sure about this?" His voice carried concern, not judgment. "They called me a leech," I said. "In the house I bought. They're evicting me from my own property. The deed is in your father's name. You structured it that way for tax purposes. Which means I've been gifting them housing for 8 years. I want to explore my options for recovering those funds." Brandon was quiet for 10 seconds. "That's going to destroy your family relationships." "They already destroyed it. I'm just documenting the rubble." He sighed. "I'll draft a demand letter. But Kevin, once we send this, there's no going back. Your father will know everything you've hidden, and he'll hate you for it." I looked around my basement room. Bare walls, minimal furniture, nothing personal. I'd lived like a guest in my own house because I didn't want them asking questions about money. Wednesday evening, Mom knocked on my door. She entered before I could answer, holding a plate of leftovers. "I saved you some dinner," she said softly. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. "Did you tell them?" I asked. She shook her head. "It's not my place. You asked me to keep it secret." 8 years ago, when I'd made my first million from a software patent, I'd come to her first. Told her I wanted to help the family without making it weird, without changing how they saw me. She'd agreed to help maintain the fiction that Dad's construction business was still thriving, that their lifestyle was sustainable. "He's going to be devastated," she whispered. "When he finds out what you've been doing, how he's treated you today, it'll break him." "He broke me first, Mum. He called me a leech in front of Tyler. He's evicting me." She sat on my bed, hands trembling. "I should have told him years ago. But you seemed happy helping quietly, and your father's pride, you know how he is." I knew exactly how he was. Dad had built Preston Construction from nothing, turned it into a successful regional business. Then the 2015 recession hit. Contracts dried up, clients defaulted, and suddenly the company that employed 30 people couldn't make payroll. That's when I'd stepped in, 24 years old with sudden wealth from my software work. I'd funneled money through shell accounts, made it look like business was recovering naturally. Paid myself a token salary as IT consultant to justify living at home. Let Dad believe his company had survived through his own skill and determination. He needs to know the truth, Mom said, before the lawyers get involved. He'll know Friday, I replied, when Brandon's letter arrives. Thursday morning, I started moving my important belongings. Not much really. My computers, some clothes, boxes of hard drives containing my actual work. Everything fit in my car, a 10-year-old Honda I'd kept specifically to maintain appearances. Tyler caught me loading boxes. Running away? He asked. Moving out. Like Dad requested. Good. Maybe now you'll finally grow up, get a real job instead of this freelance nonsense. I paused at my car trunk. Tyler, what do you think I do all day? He shrugged. Fix computers? Build websites for small businesses? I don't know, Kevin. I don't really think about it. That's obvious. He bristled at my tone. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Enjoy your home office. I drove away before he could respond. My new apartment was downtown, a furnished 2-bedroom I'd rented that morning. Expensive, modern, with a view of the city. I'd paid 6 months upfront in cash. Friday morning, I sat at my new desk and waited. Brandon had sent the letter via courier, signature required. Dad would receive it at 10 a.m. At 10:47, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls in 3 minutes. I let them ring. At 11:15, someone pounded on my apartment door. I checked the peephole. Tyler, red-faced and furious. I didn't open it. Kevin, he shouted. Open this door right now. What the hell is this letter? You're claiming you paid the mortgage? That's insane. More pounding. A neighbor's door opened. Tyler saw them and lowered his voice, but I could still hear him. This is fraud, Kevin. You can't just make up payments and demand money back. At 11:30, my mother called from a number I didn't recognize. Someone's cell phone, probably a neighbor's. I answered. Kevin, please. Her voice was wrecked. Your father is in the bedroom. He won't come out. Tyler's threatening to sue you. Melissa is driving over. Please just explain what's happening. I paid the mortgage for 8 years, Mom. You knew that. I paid the utilities, the property taxes, Tyler's law school loans, Melissa's wedding. I have every receipt. But the letter says $1.2 million. That can't be right. It's exact. Brandon itemized everything. I'm requesting repayment within 60 days or I'll file suit to establish a constructive trust on the property. She was crying openly now. You're going to take our house? I'm going to recover what I invested in people who called me a leech. Melissa arrived at my apartment at 2 p.m. Unlike Tyler, she knocked politely and waited. I opened the door. My sister looked exhausted, her professional composure cracked. Is it true? She asked. All of it? Every word. She stepped inside, looking around at my new place. Her eyes caught on the high-end computer setup, the expensive furniture, the view. You've been rich this whole time? Since I was 24. Software patents, consulting contracts. I make about $400,000 annually, more in good years. Melissa sat down heavily. But why hide it? Why live in the basement? Because I wanted to help without changing how you saw me. I didn't want to be the rich brother. I wanted to be Kevin, the guy who fixed computers and made everyone's life easier. Instead, you're Kevin, the guy who's destroying our family. Dad destroyed it, I said flatly, when he called me a leech, when he evicted me from my own house. Melissa was quiet for a long moment. He didn't know. None of us knew. Mom knew. Her head snapped up. What? I told Mom 8 years ago. Asked her to keep it quiet. She watched Dad humiliate me Wednesday and said nothing. Melissa looked like I'd punched her. She let him call you a leech when she knew you'd been supporting us? For 8 years. My sister stood up and walked to the window. Her reflection showed tears on her face. My wedding. You paid for all of it? When James's family backed out, yes. The venue, the catering, the photographer, everything. $78,000 total. I thought Dad's business had a good year. Dad's business hasn't had a good year since 2015. She turned around. What do you mean? The recession nearly bankrupted him. Every payment since then, the mortgage, the cars, the lifestyle, that's been my money filtered through fake consulting contracts. I've been keeping Preston Construction alive. Melissa's face went pale. Tyler's law school? I paid off his loans when he graduated. $140,000. Told him it was a company bonus for passing the bar. The house renovations? Me. The new kitchen, the finished basement, the landscaping, all me. She sat back down, hands shaking. Does Tyler know this? He will now. Brandon's letter detailed everything. He's going to be destroyed. His whole career, his image, everything he's built, he'll realize it was funded by the brother he calls a failure. I felt something cold in my chest. But maybe it'll teach him humility. Saturday morning, Dad finally called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Kevin. His voice was broken, unrecognizable. I need to understand. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were proud. Because telling you would have hurt worse than helping quietly. But a leech? I called you a leech. The word caught in his throat. You were paying for everything. You were keeping my business alive, keeping the house, and I evicted you. Yes. Silence stretched between us. I could hear him breathing, ragged and painful. I'm sorry. God help me, Kevin, I'm so sorry. I'll tell Tyler to give you the room. You can come home. We'll figure this out as a family. I don't want the room, Dad. I want my money back. We don't have $1.2 million. The house is worth maybe $900,000 and it's our home. Then you'll need to get a loan. Or sell it and downsize. Kevin, please. Don't do this. I'm begging you. I'd never heard my father beg for anything. He'd built his company through pride and determination, never asking for help, never showing weakness. Now he was begging his leech son for mercy. You have 60 days, I said. After that, Brandon files the lawsuit and everything becomes public record. Your friends, your business associates, everyone will know that your broke son bought your life. I hung up before he could respond. The guilt hit immediately, but I pushed it down. They'd made their choice. I was just following through on the consequences. Sunday, I went to my favorite coffee shop, trying to pretend life was normal. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. We need to talk. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office. Tyler's law firm occupied the 15th floor of a downtown building. Glass walls, modern furniture, the kind of place that screamed success. The receptionist recognized my last name and waved me through without questions. Tyler's office had a view. Leather chairs, mahogany desk, diplomas on the wall. He sat behind the desk like a judge, and I was the defendant. Sit, he commanded. I remained standing. I read Brandon's documentation, Tyler said. It's thorough. Every payment time-stamped, every transaction sourced. You actually did pay for everything. I told you that. I thought you were lying. Trying to extort us. He leaned back, studying me. You really make $400,000 a year fixing computers? Software security consulting. I find vulnerabilities in corporate systems and help patch them. I also hold patents on encryption protocols that generate passive income. Tyler's expression shifted from skepticism to something uglier. Envy. You've been secretly rich while watching me work 80-hour weeks? I work plenty. Just from home. This is why you never moved out. You were investing in real estate, using our house as your asset while pretending to be a broke loser. I was helping my family. You were manipulating us. His voice rose, making us feel superior while you held financial power over everything. That's sick, Kevin. That's controlling behavior. I felt my jaw tighten. I never controlled anything. I never demanded gratitude or held the money over anyone's head. I just helped. Until you didn't. Tyler stood up, walked to his window. This lawsuit will destroy Dad. The shame of it, everyone knowing his son funded his life, it'll kill his reputation. He should have thought about that before evicting me. We'll fight you in court. You'll lose. Brandon's documentation is airtight. Tyler turned around, and his expression had changed. Calculating now, the lawyer in him emerging. We could counterclaim. Argue that you lived rent-free for 8 years, benefited from family resources, establish that your payments were gifts with no expectation of return. Try it. Every payment was labeled loan for repayment in my records. I documented everything specifically to avoid the gift argument. His confidence faltered. Kevin, please. I'm asking you as your brother. Drop this. We'll acknowledge what you did, we'll be grateful, but don't destroy the family over one stupid comment. One stupid comment? Tyler, you've been calling me a failure for years. Every family dinner, every holiday, you've made jokes about my basement lifestyle. Dad just said out loud what you've all been thinking. We didn't know. That's not my fault. I walked to the door, then paused. You have 53 days left. I suggest you start figuring out how to get the money. The next 2 weeks were quiet. No calls, no visits, no contact. I threw myself into work, taking on extra consulting contracts, traveling to client sites, anything to avoid thinking about the lawsuit deadline approaching. Then Mom showed up at my apartment. She looked 10 years older than the last time I'd seen her. Gray in her hair I hadn't noticed before, lines around her eyes. They're planning to take out a second mortgage, she said, to pay you back. It'll bury them financially, but they're doing it. That's their choice. Kevin, please listen. She sat down uninvited. I was wrong. I should have told your father years ago. Yes, you should have. But I'm telling you now. Your father hasn't slept properly in 2 weeks. He's losing weight. He keeps reading Brandon's letter, looking at the numbers, realizing what you did. It's destroying him. Good. The word came out harsher than I intended. Mom flinched. You don't mean that. He called me a leech, Mom. He evicted me. And you said nothing. I was afraid. Afraid that if I spoke up in the moment, he'd be angry at me for keeping the secret. I know that's cowardly, but it's the truth. I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me, who'd kept my secret, who'd watched me be humiliated in silence. What do you want from me? Forgiveness. Understanding. A chance for your father to apologize properly, to make amends. He had that chance. He called me begging and I said no. She pulled out her phone, showed me a photo. Dad's sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread around him, looking lost. He's trying to figure out how to keep the business alive after the second mortgage. He'll have to lay off employees, cut back services, maybe sell equipment. Everything he built, it's crumbling because of this. Everything he built was already crumbling. I was just hiding the cracks. Then let him see them. Come to dinner Tuesday night. Sit down as a family. Let him apologize face to face, and if you still want your money after that, fine. But give him this chance. I wanted to say no. Every instinct told me to maintain distance, to let the lawsuit play out, to let them suffer the consequences they'd earned. But she was crying now, quietly, and she was still my mother. Tuesday evening, I drove to the house I'd bought. The driveway looked the same, but everything felt different. I wasn't coming home. I was visiting a place I used to know. Dad opened the door before I could knock. He looked terrible. 20 pounds lighter, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped. Kevin, thank you for coming. Inside, Melissa and Tyler sat at the dining table. The same table I'd bought 3 years ago. Everyone was quiet, tense, waiting. Mom brought out dinner. Nobody touched their plates. I owe you an apology, Dad started. His voice shook. What I said Wednesday, calling you a leech, asking you to leave, it was the worst thing I've ever said to anyone. Especially to you. Especially after everything you've done. Okay. Just okay. I looked at all of them. What do you want me to say? That it's fine? That I forgive you? Words are easy, Dad. Tyler spoke up. We're taking out a second mortgage. The bank approved it. $850,000 at 6.8% interest. We can pay you back in full. That'll destroy you financially, I said. We know, Melissa added quietly. But it's what we owe you. What we should have acknowledged years ago. Dad leaned forward. Kevin, I spent 2 weeks reading Brandon's letter. Every line item, every payment, every sacrifice you made. 8 years of supporting us while we treated you like a burden. I don't have words for how ashamed I am. Something in his voice cracked through my anger. This wasn't manipulation. This was genuine devastation. The business, Preston Construction, is it really in that much trouble? I asked. He nodded slowly. Without your help, yes. We're barely breaking even most months. I've been pretending everything's fine because I couldn't admit I needed my son to save me. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and showed him the screen. You see this account? $2.3 million, Dad read aloud. That's what I've saved after helping you. I'm not broke, Dad. I never was. I'm financially secure, successful, doing work I love. I didn't need your house or your food. I stayed because I wanted to help my family. Tyler stared at the number. You have $2.3 million? More in investments. The point is, I never needed you. You needed me. And instead of acknowledging that, instead of treating me with basic respect, you called me a leech. So what now? Melissa asked. Do you take the money and let us sink? Or is there another option? I looked at my family. Broken, humiliated, finally understanding. There's always another option, I said. But it requires honesty. No more secrets, no more pretending. If I help, everyone knows. Your friends, your business partners, everyone. Dad's face went pale. You want me to admit publicly that my son saved my business? I want you to admit the truth. That families help each other, that there's no shame in accepting support, and that success isn't measured by who pays for what. The silence was heavy. Tyler spoke first. I can live with that. So can I, Melissa added. Dad looked at Mom, then at me. What about the lawsuit? I'll drop it on one condition. The second mortgage money, instead of paying me back, invest it in Preston Construction. Hire more people, take on bigger projects, actually rebuild the business properly. And I'll consult on the restructuring for free. You do that? After everything? I'm not doing it for you, Dad. I'm doing it because I still believe in the family I joined 8 years ago when I decided to help. Maybe you can become that family again. He stood up, walked around the table, and hugged me. It was awkward, desperate, but real. 3 months later, I stood in Preston Construction's new office space. Bigger, modern, full of employees who knew exactly who funded their paychecks. Dad introduced me to a client, his voice carrying pride I'd never heard before. This is my son, Kevin. He's our technology consultant and the reason we're still in business. No shame, no deflection, just truth. Tyler had apologized 6 more times, each one more genuine than the last. Melissa had sent me a card thanking me for her wedding, for everything. Mom had stopped crying and started smiling again. The money didn't matter anymore. Brandon had structured everything so the second mortgage became business investment capital, and Preston Construction was actually thriving now with proper funding. I'd moved back into the house temporarily while apartment hunting, but this time my basement room had a proper door and my family knocked before entering. Respect earned through consequences. It was the only lesson they'd understand.